Hello, welcome to Let the Light in TV. I'm Craig Christoffersen, and today I'm here with actually a couple different things for you that work in harmony together, but let's go through the order of things. First, I want to introduce you to the Mars 4K transmitter and receiver. This is the transmitter here. You can tell that because it has the red badge. I don't have actually the receiver here with me today. We'll get into that a little bit later, but the receiver looks the exact same and has a blue badge. Now, build quality and features. This is made of aluminum die-cast metal. Feels really good, premium quality, like it's going to last and that it's durable. Now, feature-wise, Hollyland is saying that this has a 450-foot line of sight range at 0.06 seconds latency. Now, little caveat to that, this is a 4K transmitter. It is possible of doing lower resolutions, such as, just HD, 1080p type resolutions. But this claim of 0.06 seconds of latency is for 1080p at 60 frames per second. So not actually for their 4K signal. Just want you to know that. We'll get into, delay tests, and I'll show you examples of that a little bit later. But just want you to know, 0.06 seconds of latency is for 1080p signal. Now its data rate is set to default at 12 megabytes per second, but it can range from 8 to 20 megabytes per second, depending on region and a variety of things. Signal-wise, here are its full capacity limitations. 3G SDI, and its HDMI can go all the way up to 4K at 30 frames per second. And again, as I did already mention, it also supports HD formats. So it can do 1080p at, for example, 20 frames or 30 or 60 frames. And those can be progressive or interlaced, whatever you so desire. Now, the Hollyland 4K features smart channel scanning. So what does this mean? Well, Hollyland is, in my opinion, very strong at kind of plug and play type products where you power it on and it just works. And so what smart channel scanning does is it's going to scan the area that you're in, the signals, the frequencies that are running around, and it's going to choose the best channel, the best frequency for you to transmit on. And this is something that Hollyland is great at doing, just turning it on and making it instantly usable. So smart channel scanning. It also has multiple power options, and yes, I tested, they are hot swappable. So your power options are, for example, an NPF style battery like I have on the back right now. There is a DC input on the side right here, and that can go from 6 volts to 16 volts. And then finally, on the other side here, we have a USB-C port. So this 4K transmitter can connect with up to 2 receivers. So again, the receivers look the exact same, they just have a blue badge. So this one can connect to 2 receivers. It can connect with up to 4 mobile devices, whether that's a phone or tablet, it doesn't matter, just 4 mobile devices running the HollyView app. Then your final option is it can connect with 1 transmitter and 2 mobile devices. So those are your options. The antennas on this are very, very small. They're bullet style and they are detachable. So I believe if you wanted to swap them with something else, you could go ahead and do that. But I like the bullet style antennas. It helps keep size and weighting down. It has 1 mounting option, 1/4-inch threaded hole, although it does come with an attachment. It's going to be 2 screws. They go into here, and that will give you another 1/4-inch thread if you wanted to mount it in a different way. So just the 1 natively, but it does come in the box with another little attachment that can give you another mounting option as well. That's a 1/4-inch threaded hole. Now both receivers and transmitters, they weigh at 223 grams and they're 115 millimeters tall. If we go ahead and turn this on, we see that it has a color LCD screen. Nice little touch there. The button is located right below the screen. It can move in 4 directions. It will click in 4 directions. It's only used though in the up and down directions. And if you hold it down, that is either going to be selection, or if you hold it down for long enough, it will bring up the menu system. The menu system, very easy to navigate. You know what you're doing. Simple to figure out. You have scene mode, so that's going to switch between HQ, balanced, and speed. You have your fan settings. You can just put it on quiet or normal. And then you have different settings like pairing it up to a receiver and returning back to the main menu. And this is located, as you can see, on the side of the device, not the front or the back, which I think can be kind of nice, since if you have it mounted one way, you can just peek at the side rather than having to crane your neck all the way around. So a little bit of speeding up your information gathering there. I have left this running for multiple hours. It did not feel like it overheated by any means. And also the cooling fan remained extremely quiet, where it wasn't noticeable at all. Okay, so all of that's great, but what about its actual function? What about when it actually transmits a signal? Is there any signal loss? So I ran a couple of tests. I had, for example, my phone out with a mobile app, and I connected to that. And I also had a monitor, which we'll get into in a second. And neither of them had any signal drops. So it sends a nice strong signal. There were no signal drops. As far as distance tests go, reminder, the claim is that this can go 450 feet line of sight range. So I had my phone out with the HollyView app on it, and I got to about 40 meters. That's 130 feet. Not that great of a distance, but decent. And there was, again, no signal loss, but not a huge distance. Certainly fine for indoors. Outdoors may arise a couple complications, but you just have to, if you lose a signal, you just walk back into range and it reconnects, no problem. With a receiver, and we'll get into more about this in just a minute, hold on, but with a receiver, I was able to receive the signal for quite a while. I was able to receive it for 250 meters, which is 820 feet. That's, you did hear that right, 820 feet, almost double of their claim. In fact, I could have kept going, but I ran out of road to walk farther down. I walked down the entire road and I had to turn right or left, which doesn't really get me farther, just gets me wider. So I did a little bit of that and it still didn't drop. 820 feet and it still didn't drop. And I mean, I was holding it, for example, the transmitter was behind my body. This, as I was walking forward, was in front of my body. So it wasn't exactly line of sight, and it still never dropped the signal. I had to zoom in 4 times on the monitor just to see where I was at that point. Very impressive. You would think, you know, companies maybe boost their claims a little bit, but Hollyland in this instance has actually almost halved their claim. They said 450, I made it to 820. Very respectable, sending a 4K signal over that distance. So that's extremely impressive. So are there any cons about this transmitter? Perhaps the signal delay will be a little bit too much. I'll throw up some examples right now of signal delay. Perhaps signal delay could be a little bit too much if you are using it, for example, to pull focus. But in terms of simply monitoring or sending signal, it does an absolutely excellent job. It's strong and far beyond reaches what Hollyland claims is capable. So honestly, in terms of cons, I don't really have particularly anything to say for my use and my tests. For follow focus, again, it may just be a little bit too much. That depends how picky you are though. So overall, wonderful, wonderful review. I don't really have anything negative to say about this transmit 4K signal at a whopping 820 feet. I also used it inside, as you can see right here. I used it inside our new building. And what I did is I walked to the front. I had my camera and transmitter at the back of the auditorium. I walked to the front. I went around back behind the wall into the offices, and I never lost signal. So also for indoor use, moving in between rooms, it works just fine. Now, if you are looking to purchase the Mars, or the Hollyland 4K, sorry, it is going to be $349 US. That's for the transmitter only. But if you want the transmitter and receiver, then the total is going to be $700 US. What if you wanted something a little bit more? What if you needed a monitor, for instance? What if you needed a transmitter and receiver, and you're looking at buying, this big kind of package? What if that is you? You don't have any of those things. You don't have a video monitor, you don't have a transmitter, you don't have a receiver, you don't have anything, and you're looking to get some of those things. What is the answer for you? I present to you, ladies and gentlemen, the Mars M1 monitor made by Hollyland. It is a monitor, it is a receiver, and it is a transmitter. For $549 US, you could have all of those three functions in one little device. So let's go over this. It has HDMI and SDI inputs, only an HDMI output though. 5.5-inch LCD touchscreen. The resolution of your screen is going to be 1920 by 1090, and the brightness is 1000 nits, which on the day like today, you can't necessarily see it because my blinds are down, but the sun is out, it's partly cloudy, and in a partly cloudy scenario, on a bright winter's day, snow reflecting, it was certainly bright enough for my needs and what I tested it out in. It's got professional color calibration, multi-level color temperature adjustments are available on this, and each screen is set up with 6500 Kelvin as the default. It runs on the Rec 709 color gamut, and it has a 4K 30 frames per second input and loop out. Now the build of the monitor, it feels quite sturdy. It feels almost like it has a case built onto the outside. It's like we have the screen right here. And all of this, I don't want to say like it's rubberized, but it's grippy. And it feels certainly durable, like it could take a drop, even though, of course, you don't want to drop it. But it feels very durable, great feel, like it has a case on the outside, is what I would say. It weighs 380 grams. It has a couple of different mounting options. We have on the bottom here a 1/4-inch threaded hole, and if we turn it on the side, another 1/4-inch threaded hole. It doesn't come with any additional mounting units. That is up for you to supply yourself with. Now, how do you power this device? Well, I have an NPF style battery on the back here. We also have a DC in, and that's 7 volts to 16 volts. And we also have a DC out, so you can power other units through here. And your DC out is 8.4 volts. Now, the biggest thing about this monitor here is the ability to cut down on clutter, right? Like I said, this is a monitor, this is a transmitter, and this is a receiver. I tried to look up, for example, other options that cover all of these things, and I wasn't able to find anything. As far as I know, this may be the only video monitor, receiver, and transmitter out there. If I'm wrong, please correct me. I don't want to misinform you. But as far as what I could find, this is the only monitor, transmitter, and receiver all in one. You are able to do it all in one. So, before, and again, I'm not bashing this, you would have a transmitter, receiver to monitor. That's 3 separate devices. Now you can bring it all down to just one device. Now, what are the statistics on it? Do the statistics differ in any way from, for example, the Hollyland 4K transmitter that we just went with? No, it doesn't. A little bit, but generally no. So the range of the transmission and reception capabilities in here, 450 feet at 0.08 seconds, 0.08 seconds. And what you can do is you can have up to 4 monitoring devices. So for example, that's, your phone, your iPad, 4 different devices running the app, or you could actually send the signal to 2 more of these screens. Now in my testing, I set this, what you do is you power this on, power button's right back here, power it on. You can pick transmitter or receiver capabilities whenever you go into the menu. Whenever I tested it as a transmitter, Also, whenever I tested it as a receiver, it was the same. Now, whenever I tested it as a transmitter and I used my phone to monitor, I was able to get the exact same result with the actual 4K transmitter. So with my phone, I was able to go 40 meters or 130 feet. Now, as a transmitter receiver, it's able to go, they say, 450 feet at 0.08 seconds. What I found, again, is it was able to go all the way to 820 feet. So again, almost double of what Hollyland claims, still at 4K 30 FPS. Now I will let you in here on this little bit of information. Whenever I used the 4K, I could feel that the signal had less latency in it. Whenever I switched over to the M1 monitor here, I could feel just a little bit more lag. And I will say, if you are going to rely on this to be your transmitter and monitor and receiver and monitor, and you are trying to follow focus, I think this is going to be too laggy. I don't think this is going to be your option, right? So this is why our 4K transmitter and receiver still have a place, because of that quicker transmission rate. But if Hollyland could get a quicker transmission rate inside of this, are they unbeatable? Do transmitters become outdated? Right? Like just a standalone transmitter? Does everybody start going down this route where it's a monitor and a transmitter and receiver? I mean, certainly, you know, this isn't going to be great for everyone, but I think they could almost really take over the market with this, with a couple more improvements. Let's carry on before I get carried away here. So the Mars M1 monitor, it can be used in conjunction with the Mars Pro and the Mars 4K, as I did today. I was using the Mars 4K as the transmitter, and I used the monitor as my receiver. So I had both receiver and monitor all built into one thing. This also features smart channel scanning. But as a monitor, how does it function, right? We've talked about as a transmitter and as a receiver, how does it function? And we find that it functions quite impressively, except for that, you know, maybe a little bit too much bit of latency depending on your usage of it. But as a monitor, how does it function? Sure, it has, you know, transmitter receiver capabilities, but what does it have for features? Well, you can import 3D LUT files, for example. It has color temperature adjustment. It has 4x zoom. Unfortunately though, and I will say disappointingly, it does not have pinch to zoom. It doesn't have pinch to zoom. On the HollyView app, you can pinch to zoom, but on the monitor, you could not pinch to zoom, which I was a little bit disappointed in. Hopefully they would maybe update that on maybe a firmware update or something like that, but I would like to see that come to the M1 monitor, a pinch to zoom feature. It has focus assist, exposure assist, waveform displays. It also has recording and playback functions, so you can have up to 3 minutes of recording time. Now the recorded videos, they cannot be exported, and they will be deleted as soon as you start either another recording or you power the device off, but a handy little feature to have on there. As far as differences between the monitor itself and the features in there versus the Hollyland app, there's not a whole lot of difference other than having scopes and the 9-grid. The monitor itself doesn't offer a huge amount more of features than the HollyView app. Of course, disregarding the transmitter receiver functions, right? That's huge, but we're talking about features as far as monitoring. As I already said, the app can pinch to zoom. This can't. I'd like to see a little bit more customizability come into the monitor features. The ability to, and again, maybe not everyone would want this. I will clarify that. Maybe not everyone would want that little more customizability. It could just clutter up the menus, you would say, if you were able to adjust the thickness of your 9-grid lines. And another thing is you can't have different waveforms up at the same time. You can only have one type of waveform. You can't have a scope and waveform up at the same time. I think that's a little bit disappointing, and I'd like to see that resolved. But you may not agree with me. Why do you need all those waveforms and scopes up at the same time, you may say. Fair play, I say. Fair play. So, conclusion. This is really quite an impressive product to have video monitoring, transmission, and receiving all within the case of one thing. That's really cool. That's really cool. And I think that's something to get really excited about. Because again, you can cut down on clutter, you can cut down on things. The cost is fantastic, right? Coming in at 550 American dollars. I think there's a lot to get excited about. But do you take the jump right now, right? Do you ditch all of your transmitters and receivers and monitors and say, I'm going all in on this one? I think that depends, to be honest. I'm really excited about it. I don't really have hardly anything negative to say about it other than, you know, some customizability features. I'd like to see some maybe more pro features on the monitor as far as monitoring goes. But I think whether you take that jump right now depends on what you're doing. It totally depends on what you're doing. If you want to focus pull and that's the only thing you're gonna have, I think you're gonna get a little bit frustrated. But if you're looking to monitor and to have, you know, a monitor, like you can just carry this around set, right? I mean, you could mount it, but you can just carry this around if you're a gaffer, grip lighter, whatever you want to do. You can just carry this around, set it down, do your adjustments, have this the whole time. To be able to carry that around, even in regards to sports, right? To have that as a monitor, you're covering a whole field, live production, concerts, you've got great distances that is able to cover at 4K capabilities. That's really strong. But do you take the jump? Again, totally depends on what you're gonna do. If you're gonna do focus pulling, I think it's a little bit too laggy for you. But if you're just interested in transmitting, receiving, and video monitoring, and you're not gonna be pushing kind of latency to its limits, then yeah, I think I would take the jump. You're getting 3 functions in one. Again, you can team up multiple monitors together. You're gonna have 1 transmitter, 2 receivers, all the exact same product of this monitor. I think that's something to get really excited about, and perhaps something a video operator, video production worker might want to see under their Christmas tree. Who knows? The links to buy these things are down below. I will leave you with that. Links to buy them are down below. Holiday season is coming up, so if you want to get a gift, then you can check out the DA merchandise, link to that down below. Link to Dustin Abbott's channel is down below as well. Other than that, I hope you have a wonderful day, take care, and remember to let the light in.